possible now. Thank you.
How so?
Well, before I would have said I just need to be in a different space from home because I'll get distracted and all that. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm doing it because I have to, I realise that I can.
You can.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's just a bit of a. It's kind of nice. I found that with heaps of COVID stuff, you really you have these rules and everything, and then because you have to break them, then you're like, oh,
we make a lot of shit up in our heads, eh? You know what I mean? Like
totally
to rile up motivation or whatever.
Well, and with writing as well, it is a specific thing. Like you can't, just it's not one of those things that you can just. For me, I can't drink a bottle of wine and do an Ernest Hemingway or whatever. And
Go lock myself in a hotel room for a day and there's a script.
Exactly. Get up in the morning, do it early, have my routine, do my exercise before, all that sort of stuff. I kind of need, but I think you can get swept up in it too much as well.
Yeah. Actually, that looks like that's running. Sorry, I did my little last panic before I.
No, I know the
down.
feeling.
I hate this feeling. It's like an OCD that I haven't.
I have the exact same thing with some. I'm trying to remember what it is. I have it every night with my alarm. Every night I put my alarm on and then I turn the light off and get the phone out. Cheers. And thanks for the wine, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Part of I have this affiliation with Naked Wines.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's not at the stage yet where they supply wine or anything, but they offer a discount to anyone who's listening.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. No one uses it, actually.
Cool. Well, it's perfect for a Friday night because, as you know, I've got a birthday celebration coming up.
Good place to start. Well, I've got my birthday celebration tomorrow.
Oh, how good's that?
Yeah. When's your birthday?
Is your birthday tomorrow?
No, it's 2 weeks ago, actually.
Oh, right. Mine was Wednesday, so I was a bit closer.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yep.
Happy birthday to you too.
Yep.
And I am having friends over tonight and we're going to roast some chestnuts in the fire. There's going to be an outdoor fire and it's going to be lovely. My girlfriend's convinced me to have people over and do something because usually I kind of fly under the radar for birthdays.
Right.
But it's going to be good.
It's funny. I have a terrible history with thanks for coming in, by the way, man. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
Yeah. I've been pestering your bro for about a year to get you ever since. Actually, I've been pestering him to connect us.
Yeah.
And then since the podcast, I've been layering on that pestering. He finally pulled the trigger and did it.
It didn't take long.
Yeah.
It didn't take long at all. All I needed was a conversation and so he should have done it sooner probably.
Yeah. He's probably like, I don't know if Josh is any fucking good at this, you know what I mean? I can take a photo, but, no, what I was saying before is I have in relation to what you were saying about flying under the radar, I have a terrible history with birthdays in my in my entire life. Anytime I have ever tried to do something or invite a lot of people, I would say 75% of them don't roll up, and I'm left with this core group. But this time around, we're going to the Carrying Bush tomorrow, and there's a 12 people restriction.
Hell yes, you got the whole joint.
Well, in this back room, but now there's my buffer has of
Totally.
15 invites are all saying they're coming.
Oh no!
No. I'm wanting people to pull out.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a brutal time because you have to get your 20 people and settle for it. I'm going to the Marquee of Lawn in Fitzroy tomorrow, and we've hired the whole joint out. So not for my birthday, but whoever was organising that had to be very.
Right.
No buffer.
Yeah.
No
Okay.
fat. But that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to be drinking a pint again.
Well, see, this is why my birthday is 2 weeks later. The actual celebration is we were like, we'll go and hang out in the park or something like that. At least at that point, the restriction had been lifted. But and then my wife said, the 1st of June, the bar's going to let you back in for a bit. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's genius.
I would love a fucking pint.
I timed it perfectly.
Yeah. So just to sort of cap, so people know who I'm talking to and why you're here. Your brother first told me about what you were up to, I want to say 18 months ago with Skewwiff.
Yeah. That was the short I was working on there.
Yeah. And the thing that made my ears prick, and I think where we'll center a lot of this conversation today. What's your timeline, by the way? When do you need to get out of here?
Don't need to get out of here.
Okay, great. Because and we talked about this a little bit on the phone, like this, that the audience here is very much the ones of us here in Australia and wherever, but of course my access to guests is here in Melbourne, is the ones
Totally.
that are hustling and writing, trying their hand at producing and making things and what have you. And we are all at some point have been down that short film submission path.
Oh yeah. Brutal process.
It's a brutal, expensive, heartbreaking process.
Yeah.
But you have quite a unique story that I think certainly gives me fucking hope. And I'd like if you'd share that story.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if you're talking about Skewwiff in particular, that film, so that was one that first of all, I've made a tiny short before that, and I've been writing features before that for about 2 or 3 years alongside doing production work, working on ads and selling my soul, which is a good way to be able to write. So Skewwiff was this thing that happened when my mum got brain cancer. And she passed away very quickly. It was about a case of 4 months. But one day my dad came back. It was about a month before she died.
Met your dad, actually.
Yeah,
a couple of times, yeah.
Well, it's an incredibly personal story because my dad came back and he'd been on the road with her, and they'd gone through this thing where basically mum had started to lose her mind. And you wouldn't usually think it's impetus for a short film, but personal things sometimes are the things that you can just smash it out in terms of writing.
Yes,
so they got back and they had this massive crack in the windscreen of their car, and my dad had been so distracted by what was happening with my mum, they'd been on the road for about 2 hours, that he hadn't seen this huge crack down the middle. And I was just like, that's just kind of poetry, like it's this strange just this strange kind of image. So I kind of went off and wrote the film from there, and it came out super quickly. I actually remember I was in a studio that was like open plan, and I was just right. I think I planned it for a couple of days, and then I wrote it in one session, this short, and I was writing the end, and I was totally in the mood. And then the studio manager came up and started asking me about I'm last page. And she started asking me about like how to work the internet service and everything. But so anyway, I was so into it that I got through it. So,
when you like,
because you're in that state, like you're like everyone else should understand how serious this is, or how engaged I am.
Do you not see what I'm fucking doing?
What I'm doing? Exactly.
Step away.
Exactly. Back off. So and then that it came out quickly and easily, the script. And then it was a kind of good project to work on because it was so personal. And I think because it was so personal, I wasn't second guessing myself as much. I think a lot as a filmmaker, certainty. Exactly. And you often go like, oh shit, should I be doing this? Should I be representing it this way, that way, blah, blah, blah. But like I just kind of trusted my instincts. And I guess I'm assuming you mean the hopeful part was it kind of, I put it out there to festivals, and it didn't get into a lot of festivals, got into a couple of small ones. And then just as I was about to put it online, I had one festival to wait for after like 20, and it got into this one called Claremont-Ferrand. That's probably a nicer way of saying that if you know French. But it's a massive film festival in France, and then I got money from Screen Vic and all that. Everything was paid for. I got to go over there for a week, and
but you got a very, very encouraging, direct, personalised email.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was from the Cannes Film Festival selectors. So that was ace as well, and that kind of gave me a bit of hope.
What does it say? What did it say? If I can ask.
It said, "Hi, Robin, would love to let you know." And they do this every time they send you a thing, but there's the automated one, which is like, "Hi, we had this many selections," but this was like,
I don't give a fuck how many selections you have.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you saying?
Just
I can feel it coming.
Just say no. Yeah, exactly.
Yours was shit. And
but no, she was like the lady was like, oh, we loved it, but it didn't get into the final round of selection. So that was just like, I was out for dinner and I saw that and I was like, ace, that feels great.
That's so fucking incredible because you just I don't know of anyone else, and of course I don't have 1,000, friends on that I'm on a talking basis with, that I know about their personal experience with getting into short films. But I've never heard anyone say that before.
Yeah.
And you feel, and we touched on this on the phone, but certainly sometimes, like the Ned Kelly film that I was in, I don't know about the boys, but I was certain because the timing was on.
Yeah.
That a major film festival would pick that up, you know, because it's never been done before and blah, 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 blah. But nah.
You don't know.
Not
You've
a fucking
got no idea.
one. The Lawn Film Festival picked it up, and that's a small, you know, and it was great. It was the biggest, the most successful, like most amount of tickets they've ever sold for a film. But so you don't hear about it.
You got to, like, I think you got to not get tied up in the results, and you just got to get tied up in the process. But it's difficult not to, because when you get the results, it feels great. But it's one of those things where no matter what kind of results you get, you'll always be thinking about the next level of results, you know. So that's why I think it's important to sometimes just go like, how much do I enjoy the process, and like I don't really do this, but I hope to do this, you know, and is that my focus sort of thing?
Is it enough?
And I kind of think with writing, for example, it's like 10% of the time it's amazing, and 50% of the time it's really average, and 40% of the time it's awful. But it's the 10%, you know, that and it's like golf. That. It's exactly, and that you know, I guess it's like sports, or whatever. Like that 10% is what makes it worth it.
It's that one wave when you've been sitting out there for 3 hours getting flogged.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I
was at the urban surf park before it all closed down in Tullamarine. It's incredible. And I'm a fucking terrible surfer, but I have been doing it since I was about 14.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not a surfer. Yeah. Anyways, I went with a friend of mine because we were doing research for a film that I'd written actually.
Yeah. Like research at the
so I took a friend along to see if we could see if there was a way that we could shoot this barrel that they have and make it look like it's out in the ocean.
Yeah, right. So that'd be so much control.
So much control, totally. And to try and shoot this film of mine easily without a guy in a wetsuit floating around in a dinghy and all this kind of shit.
Water and shooting, it's not a thing. It's difficult. And
a wave on the coast here that's going to barrel enough that someone who's never been barreled before could manage it.
Yeah, anyway, it does sound perfect. Yeah. I mean,
it's whether they let you do it or not. But anyways, the water's quite light, and so you'd have to get very tricky. Anyways,
right.
I'm out there, and you get about 15 to 16 waves in your hour, and it's packed.
Yeah,
and I'm fucking wiping out on every fucking wave, and I'm like, I know how to surf. Every wave, and everyone's watching me, and I'm fucking bombing, and then the last wave, I get my first barrel ever. Yeah. And my mate catches it on his camera. And
totally. Yeah. And that's
fucking yes.
That's totally. No, I have the same. I try to do 4 hours of writing in the morning, and often after the third hour, I'm like, fuck this. Like it's just agonizing, and I just want to leave. And you know, sometimes I'll work out a reason why I have to leave. Like today, I have to organize my birthday party. But often in that fourth hour, you get a little gem or whatever at the very end, and you're like, oh, it was so worth it. You know? Just for that little moment, like that little thought or idea or whatever. Yeah.
I really apply the. If I'm going to apply anything, let me set the stage. If I'm going to apply any kind of mantra or motto to writing, it's 2 pages a day.
Yeah,
no matter what.
Yeah.
Or whatever comes out. So that I know that in 60 days I've got 120 pages. Yep. If I break it down like that, I'm more encouraged to go to the computer if knowing that all I've got to do is 2 pages. And then 9 times out of 10 you'll get 4 or 5.
Yeah. Do you outline much when you write, or are you kind of a bit more?
In my limited experience of writing, it was, I think I was very lucky to pick up that habit straight away because I have no training.
Yeah.
And I had this idea for a film, and it's a feature, and I'd only ever written like a treatment for a short, which we shot.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't fucking know how to plan out a feature. I just know how it ends.
Yeah,
and I know
that's the most important thing,
right? Anyway. And I know where I want it to be.
Yeah.
And what the themes are, but I had no idea about. Like as an actor, I understand that your scenes need an arc, and every character needs an arc, and there needs to be different voices, and there needs to be conflict, and blah 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 blah. Yep. But how do I? And someone said,
mammoth.
Someone said, Reed saved the cat.
Yeah.
And it's very, very simple.
Totally.
And that was it. I got a whiteboard I wrote out the 15 beats, and then I was like, okay, cool, I can write dialogue around these beats, because I had no idea how to write dialogue.
Yeah.
And then I got a bunch of South African people to come over and do a table read.
Amazing.
So I heard some different dialects and said, well, I'd probably say it like this here, or I'd say this is very Aussie here.
Totally.
And, she wouldn't probably do this. Or,
nice.
And then I paid someone, and then I paid another person, and so I've been refining it ever since.
Yeah, I feel like with things like Save the Cat, it's just good. It's you need to know it, so that if you want to stray from it, it's great, but you need to know it first before you start straying from
foundation,
it. Yeah, totally. And it's just like sometimes it just makes things click. Yeah,
I think so, 100%. And it gave me it was encouraging, because what you need more than anything else, the knowledge is motivation.
Yeah,
I think motivation will lead you to acquire more knowledge and
completely agree.
All of that sort of stuff. Just getting your butt down into the chair. I listened to a great. I couldn't tell you his name. He's got such a fascinating story. He's like a military wartime fiction writer.
Yeah, right.
He was on Joe Rogan recently. Yeah. And very quickly, he knew when he was young that he wanted to write this kind of book, right? Like Sum of All Fears and shit like that, that sort of genre. He's like, but I can't write about this truthfully unless I've experienced it.
Yeah.
So this is what I'll do. I'll go and join the Navy.
Yeah, yeah.
So he fucking joins. Did I tell you this story?
No, I feel like I've almost read about this, though. It sounds kind of familiar.
What his name is. And he goes into the military for 17 years or something like that, all the while reading. Now he's like an international bestseller. He's got 6 books and movie deals coming. But But he never trained as a writer. He trained as
It's pretty incredible dedication. Yeah, and it makes things a lot easier if you're writing about what you know.
Right, you've got first-hand experience of that.
Well, with that one, and I've done features about what I know, and but I don't think you have to either. You just got to research. But I'd be interested to know as an actor, how you feel about, like how much of that method stuff and all that helps you. And like making the conditions as kind of as real as possible, do you find that very helpful?
Like, give me an example of what you mean.
So the old, wear the pants that they wore in the 1930s.
Oh,
that kind of stuff.
So that's a minor example. A segue into actually being on set.
Yeah. I'm kind of
like, look, I don't. I think as I can see the trajectory or a little bit of where I'm headed in my limited experience. I haven't probably done 6 or 7 films.
Yep.
But yes. Yeah. 100%. I mean, I think if you can find any way, and we were talking about this on the podcast a couple of episodes ago about Anthony Hopkins is a real big sort of, find the way to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Don't, like, if you've got a castle around you and you're in a fucking gown and you've got the crown on and everything, you don't have to do anything.
Totally.
Just let it hit you.
Yeah. It's all happening.
It's all happening. It's not like an audition, which is the hardest one where you've got nothing. Some idiot across from you who's not giving you anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. But I don't think that I'll ever go so far as to be in character for 3 months or anything like that. I'm not that good, and I don't know that I ever will be. I'm more like that. I think just turn it on when it's happening, and then off when it's not.
Yeah.
When we did the Ned Kelly thing, it was really great to be in the bush, with the gear on,
100%.
Your own beard, and dirty hands.
I think it helps with every part of the process.
It does. All that I think is really, really accurate. That it informs even the way that you move. Like having like a prop gun that's a real gun and it's as heavy as that real gun. And roll your shoulders that little bit more, and and keeping these boots on that they had gave me a certain kind of walk.
Yeah,
and not that you see it that much, but I feel it.
Yeah, totally. And you might not even
instead
consciously
of having my runners on,
You don't walk going, I'm wearing the boots and I'm walking this way. It just happens, Yeah, no, totally. I think it's a good way to think about it, just making it easier for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what a good actor or a good director or whatever will do, is just create the conditions so it can just all happen.
Even in a rare interview, Daniel Day-Lewis, who everyone always talks about, the method king, rah. He's like, look, this method thing it's really a bunch of bullshit. Like, for me, it's just I don't have the energy to jump in and out. For
Yeah.
me, that's taxing.
Yeah.
So if I'm, hey, how are yous, and
Yeah,
conversations
yeah.
and all this kind of stuff out of character,
Yeah.
I find that
Yeah,
taxing.
yeah, totally.
So
'cause
for
he has to
him, he's just got to be in
wanna
it.
stay in the zone, yeah.
Yeah, whereas for me, what he does, I think I would find that very taxing.
Yeah.
'Cause
Oh, yeah,
I'd
totally.
have to
Well,
be-
I'm also a big believer in if you're doing hardcore stuff, sometimes it's good to have a laugh, you know, because it just keeps, no one wants to work for, yeah, not that I've done a feature, but if you are doing a feature, I wouldn't want to work for 30 days, like, in the zone the whole time without having
Yeah.
a giggle. 'cause
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
that's just not going to be good. But have you seen that show Succession by any chance?
I
That new-
haven't. Brian Cox.
Yeah, amazing. But the other lead in that, his name's Jeremy Strong, and he plays one of Brian Cox's sons, and he does the Daniel Day-Lewis kind of thing where he just
Right.
explains it the same way. It's not like he's walking. It's not about all the stuff he's wearing and stuff. He just has to be focused for him to make it work. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely like, for me, the two sort of, actually the three major things that I've done, major for me, I've had a lot of time to prepare. So for the Ned Kelly thing, like not only did I went up to the Ned Kelly country, I camped out, I went and saw where it all went down.
Cool.
I went to the jails, I went to this, I spoke to people.
Cool.
I went to a rifle range. I mean, I grew up shooting anyways, but just to reconnect.
Yeah.
I also started boxing, just
nice.
down in the shed because I knew that he was a boxer. And I remember catching this interview with Matt Damon and when he was preparing for his first Born Identity.
Yeah.
He's talking to the director and he's like, well, this isn't really my brand. So what do I do?
Yeah.
And he said, I reckon you need to go and just box for
Just
3
box,
months.
Totally.
And you'll just get this. And I
You
thought,
get-
wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
really,
yeah,
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah, totally.
Now, to me, it worked. My wife snapped this photo right on last day,
Yeah.
right after the kill scene at the very end.
Yeah.
And I got the gun and it's in my shoulders. And I was like, that was
totally.
paid off, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So that all of that stuff is just there for you when you're doing it.
Yeah, my dad was describing it to me the other day in terms of what, he's talking about business and stuff, but it applies the same thing as the funnel, and there's all sorts of stuff that you throw in the funnel. And like in my case, it would be reading lots of books about the project I'm working on, whatever the themes or the research topic is. And you might be reading someone's old Facebook post or something that could feel completely irrelevant, but if it's just related and it's going into that funnel, and eventually you start getting results,
Right.
And I kind of like thinking of it as like you just have to absorb all this stuff and not expect that you will get direct results out of it necessarily, but it just bleeds into the work.
It can't not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you do end up doing it and you go, oh shit, like it really has,
Yeah.
like too much even,
Certainly doing all of the groundwork, we were just talking about writing about what you know versus what you don't know, and ease and like the feature film that I've been working on and kind of at the core of why this podcast came about.
Yeah.
It's called The Park, and it's about an anti-poaching unit in the Kruger National Park.
Which is in South Africa, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Defending rhinos and elephants and all this kind of stuff, which I know nothing about.
Yeah, right.
Right, nothing.
Yeah.
But so I had to do a mountain of research as best I could through YouTube and talking to people and what have you. But like the imagery that you had to go
have a look at
through.
Yeah,
poor bleeding heart or whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there's hectic shit in there.
Yeah, totally.
Of course.
It's
and so many times just fucking there at 1 a.m, bawling my eyes out at this stuff, just going, oh my god, this is fucked.
Yeah.
So you can write about things you don't know as long as I think the ultimate goal is to if you're emotionally invested, then everyone else should be. If you have some grasp of how to
access that stuff and relate to it.
Is litterize the right word? Like to be able to put that feeling onto paper? What's the word I'm looking for?
Actualize or something.
Actualize, just if you know what I mean, to be able to take what I'm like, if same as in a performance, like if I don't have camera technique, doesn't matter how much I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
if
totally.
my fucking face is away and I never turn to camera, you don't know.
No, totally.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to put that on the page.
And that's great writing, isn't it? It's just the same sentence can be written a million ways, but it's just that one choice of that one word that fucking grabs you.
Yeah. So do you relate quite strongly to your lead in that film? That have you written or you are writing?
I've written it.
You've written it. That's the one that you got the table read.
Nah, not really.
Yeah, right.
He's a former soldier in the Australian Army, and he's suffering from PTSD, and he's very stoic, and he's very stubborn, and he's a fucking bit of a badass, and covert op. I don't relate to any of that. But so this is what's interesting.
Sounds like a fun backstory to write, though. Yeah,
well, it was, and there's lots of we're using flashbacks as well, so you get to see that backstory. But here's the interesting thing that's come out of, and I've spoken to some other actors who are in the same crowd as me. You get some actors who they are in real life is who you see on screen.
Totally.
Whereas with me, it's the fucking polar opposite. How I might come across in a close up is not me in real life at all. It's always, the Ned Kelly type thing, or the psychopath murdering.
Character acting, isn't it?
I guess so. But I think it's more just a genetic legacy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like my resting face is really intense. Oh, cool. So he's the intense guy.
Yeah.
Whereas I've never been in a fight in my life. I've certainly, I don't know anything about being at war. But in the camera, that's.
Yeah,
I don't know that I could play me. In a film.
Yeah, totally. Probably wouldn't be that interesting either. No offense. No offense.
It's not. There's not enough conflict.
Yeah, totally.
So, in terms of I don't know how to relate on a life level, but my acting training is how to emulate the physiology of any emotion, so that it's not a backstory of my troubles. It's just. This is what the body does when it's in a state of trauma or fight or flight. Yeah. How do I get that to come up?
Totally.
Yeah. And then let, the set and everything do its work.
Yeah, and let the other actors, make it happen for you.
Totally. Yeah,
nice.
So what's on the cards for you next?
You're working on a bunch of things. I just did a new short film called Occupation, which is finished, and that's now doing the festival thing. So that'll be a long, arduous process.
How long?
Particularly because of, I don't know, because of COVID, it might be extended. What I wanted to do is we finished it at the beginning of March, and I wanted to just, try and hit a big festival early. But now a lot of those festivals, we don't know if they're happening, blah, blah, blah. I'm hoping the next thing is MIF, but they'll be online. But I'm hoping we can get it done in like a year and a half of from when we finished it to putting it online, because you obviously want people to see it. So that was it's called Occupation, very unusual pitch for a film, but it's like a surreal domestic violence film.
Okay.
That was a short, and I just had the most amazing, generous crew. Like I worked with some really amazing people, and some amazing actors, and that was just a lot of fun. And then the next thing is I'm doing it right now. Kind of great timing. I finished all the post on the other film at the beginning of March. I went away on a holiday, got on a big job until the end of March, and then COVID was like, bang, here. And then I was like, great, because now I've been wanting to do, like that was what I was planning to do, is this feature film called Change. So that's a feature-length script about a climate change cult. So it's pretty, it's a pretty gnarly story. It's about a young woman who joins, it's kind of in the near future, who joins this cult, and they go out into the jungle to live without technology and the rest. And she falls pregnant to the cult leader, which is probably a bit of trouble to begin with in any circumstances. But in this cult, they have a no pregnancy rule.
Okay.
So that's kind of where the dramatic stuff starts happening. No, I haven't.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to say it's a similar premise. It's not.
Yeah.
But cult out in the bush.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty
I should
sure
watch
there's
it
a
then.
no pregnancy rule.
Yeah.
But there's
right.
one kid finds his way in there, and then what they do to this kid, and then he goes psychopathic later
Yeah.
down the line, and then the
Yeah.
cop is. Did you never saw any of the series?
No.
On
It's a
Netflix.
series, right? Because I've been looking at cult movies, and there's quite a few of them, but there's so many more docos than movies, you know.
Right. Oh, like
There's Wild
Big
Wild Country.
Yeah. That was a
yeah.
fucking trip.
I
Holy
know.
crap.
I've been reading. I just read a big 500-page Jim Jones book about Jonestown, which is actually a fascinating story. So yeah, that's kind of. I've been writing that for about 2 months.
So
And
where are you at with it?
There's a lot of cue cards on the wall. Is where I'm at.
Does that?
That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I'm probably a. I mean, I love writing, but for me, the majority of the writing is putting cue cards on the wall, and first of all, working out my characters and all that sort of stuff. And then there's like, in terms of getting a first draft, maybe 10% of it is writing it, because I've got everything. I know what's happening in each scene roughly. I've got the general thing of what's going to happen, and then there's obviously some freedom to, once you start, there's a bit of room to move. It's not all set out completely. So yeah, I've just been trying to work out how to make this thing work.
Can I just backtrack for a sec, because the cue card thing to me seems so fucking arduous.
Yeah,
and I don't know, but it's so often talked about.
It's fun though. It's fun.
Yeah. So
I
how
like
do you
it.
do it? How does that happen? Take me through it.
So the first thing I'll probably, for this one, I started writing notes in the car, which I probably shouldn't do, but it's not illegal. And then at the end of March when I started it, I had notes in the car from when I was doing posts on other films and stuff, and just all the things that were good images or whatever, like they all swim in the pond or whatever, stick that on the wall. Or she falls pregnant, stick that on the wall. So all the basic ideas are out there, and it's a mess. Are you allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah, of course.
Good,
yeah,
okay,
fuck
good.
yeah.
It's a mess. Fuck yeah. It's a mess. And then I start looking at the characters, and I mean, I have a really weird process, and I'm going to sound like an insane person, where my process is writing a document to myself, like notes, as if for myself, so I could go over that later. So I'll write like, wouldn't it be nice if at the end of the film, she surprises them by saying she doesn't want to keep her baby. So I write that note, and then I'll just do that pages and pages and pages. Like I've got, since in the 2 months, I've written like a 50-page document. And I've got the intention of reading it, but I never do. And as I'm doing that, I'm putting cue cards up on the wall of moments that sound good. And the more cue cards you've got on the wall, the more you can shape it, if that makes sense. The more you go like, oh, there's the beginning, there's the end. And so about halfway through, I made a first act, second act, split into 2 halves, and a third act. And then that makes it a bit easier, because you go, that belongs there, this belongs there. And then you're ripping cards down and putting new ones up. And now I've pretty much got the story. I'm just, I'm kind of just like working out people's character arcs and other through lines. Because often in films, there's like 10 little stories that happen throughout it. So I'm kind of just making sure I've got all them. And then I will go into the writing phase, I think. So that'll be fun. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So you actually haven't started the script per se. It's all the groundwork.
Yeah, writing for me is a lot of it, until you start doing the redrafting stuff, is just making, mad cue cards. It's actually going to be quite funny tonight, because I've got all these guests coming over.
And they're all up.
And they're all up, and usually it would be in my office, but I don't have one at the moment. So I'm going to, look like the murderer or whatever.
Or the detective.
Or the detective, exactly.
Because that's what you are, really, aren't you? But and sometimes people can connect a dot for you too, right? They're reading something and go, oh, that's like this blah, blah. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I mean, it seems to me like it's just different for different people. So some people can just, like, what's her name? There's this writer who wrote Shame and a few other films, Abby. Anyway, she just can just write a script in 15 days, like she just gets the idea and goes. No. I can't do that. No. But for me, I just want to do everything I can to make it possible to write that first draft, because when I'm writing that first draft, I want to have like as much support from all the pre-planning, so I don't go halfway through like, oh shit, this is going to be no good, which I will do, but I'll have the whole way through I'll be going, oh shit, this is no good, and then but I'll be like, no, I've planned this, so just keep going and finish it, and then you finish it, that vomit draft or whatever.
Yeah, the vomit draft.
Have you heard of that term?
Yes, I have. Justin Dix was on here a couple of weeks back, and he said, just get the vomit draft out. No one's going to see it. No one's going to touch it. Just get it out. Then you have the second layer of the foundation.
And don't stop during the vomit draft. Don't get halfway through and go, oh, I wonder what it would be nice like if, in the first act this happened or whatever. Because then you'll just never finish your draft and you'll lose confidence. So,
I got 10 pages in on something recently where I had a little pocket of time at night where the sleeping cycles with Layla had shifted a bit, and I found myself alone, for like a little 2-hour window at night. So instead of watching another episode after the 7th episode or whatever, maybe I should do a little bit of this myself.
Totally. Yeah.
And I do a little bit of what you were saying. Like actually, like not a year ago, 8 months ago, I wrote the beats out for this. So the nugget came, and I went, "That's the story."
Yeah.
Wrote the beats out and then tabled it, and then finally got through because I hadn't finished the park.
Yeah.
And then it was interesting to sit down for the second time to write a feature and going, "Oh, I know how to streamline this a bit now."
Yeah. It's always hard, but I reckon it does get easier.
For sure. I'd have to.
Yeah.
And I do a little bit of what you were talking about with the same. I've just got this, pages and pages of stuff, like little things that just pop in that you get down, and then you go through and go, oh, yeah. Okay, I can utilize. You don't know where it's going to go, but it'll be fucking great. But sometimes you can become very attached to a really great beat that just doesn't fly.
Doesn't work. Yeah. I mean, I have a bad memory at the worst of times. So I think I just got attached to this thing I got told in high school or something, which is writing down things makes you remember them. So I've just got this habit
it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
My memory is still fucking rubbish.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
It's either there instantly or it requires constant repetition to get it there.
Yeah. Well, one of the best ways to come up with ideas is long drives, because you've got nothing, no phone, no nothing to distract yourself with, and you listen to some good music or whatever, and I love that when you get a good idea on a long drive.
That's one of the benefits of the job that I do to pay the bills, in that because my jobs are all out sort of, from Armidale, South Yarra, south from there. I'm away from the house. So if I have a relatively busy day, or I've got like one in the morning, one in the middle, I've got these big breaks where I can just sit down, find a cafe and do everything. I'm not required to be anywhere.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm not going to come home.
Totally.
And I can just get shit
come
done.
Come home and see the washings on the line, or whatever it is.
Or watch TV,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that was really encouraging coming into parenthood, knowing that I would be able to keep my foot on the pedal and keep things moving, because I had that space.
I think how I was talking about, I'm not sure if we're recording when I was talking about it, but with the COVID-19 thing, about it forcing you to realize that you can do it without all the conditions being perfect. I imagine parenting would be like that as well. Like a lot of the older filmmakers who I often say, you just gotta like write a bit when you can, kind of thing. When you've got kids, because it's just
a buddy of mine who is working on a film. He's working on a couple of films at the moment. I want to get him on here. He's one of the people that I think I was talking about him to another actor today, and we were talking about the people who don't want to come on the podcast and what their reasons are. And there's the filmmakers are keen as mustard. Right. And they're very confident, which is really interesting. And they're like, man, even at any level, like Justin is a very established, Hollywood, like he was on Star Wars, director. And he's like,
was he on 2 weeks ago? Is that right?
Yeah, about that. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, man. Yeah. And so no problem. But then I have actors who either are really, really shy when they shouldn't be, and they've got something to say, or actors who think they're probably a little bit too cool for Joshy's Big Wonder podcast. And they're like, oh, no, man, I'm just,
right.
too busy.
Yeah. It's funny, the idea of a shy actor. It just goes against type.
Well, it's so strange. And it's the only times I've ever had that kind of, I'm not sure I buy what you're saying is with actors. If the filmmakers are keen as mustard.
It's also it's because. Sorry to interrupt.
No. I'm just going to finish this tangent if I can remember it. Yeah. What were we saying before that?
Oh no!
Don't you fucking hate that?
Yeah.
It's talking about
having actors on the show. What?
Motherfucker! You tell me what you're telling me, and then I'll see if it comes back.
Oh no!
You lost what you were.
Now I've lost it as well. We're as bad as each other.
We finished off talking about.
Oh no! What was I going to say? It was something about directors being keen as mustard. I think that, directing is one of those same as writing. It's one of those kind of not many people actually end up doing it. So to be able to talk about it is fun, because I'm not saying that, you just live with a bunch of actors and you hang out, but there are, you're on set and there's several actors and you're all doing acting, So I think that sometimes it's fun for directors to do this kind of thing because it's, you get to talk about what you do, in detail.
Yeah, and I think, directors...
Especially with a glass of wine.
Especially, yeah. I'm always like, I send out the message before people come, especially if it's in the afternoon, and I'm like, do you want coffee or wine? Going, please say wine, because that's my excuse to have a drink.
Well, it's Friday night after all.
Yeah.
So, no, I think... I've loved talking about the craft and doing it.
I could talk about it all fucking day long.
Yeah, but you can't with everyone either. So
you can't.
I'll probably go to drinks after this, and I'll just be yapping on, and people will be like, "We don't want to talk about that point." Yeah.
Oh, I was talking about my
what
mate.
What do you mean?
Yeah. There we go. Ties it up. I was talking about my mate Adam, who's I don't know how I made that segue, but he's writing a couple of films. And which we're going to work on together. But he was in crewing, I think.
Yep.
And Adam, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, and it just wasn't making ends meet. And then, and I don't know how this segue. I want to say his brother-in-law already had a pre-existing plumbing company, and he was a plumber by trade. Anyways, long story short, he's done a big arc around the back end of his creative endeavors, in that he's gone off and put it down for a bit, gone off and built up a business, got his home life sorted. He's got a home, he's got 2 kids, he's got money in the bank. And it's coming back around full circle and has been writing in his own time.
Not everyone comes back around.
That's right. We were talking about finding a gap to write in.
Yeah.
And he'd get up an hour before everyone in the morning and go out to his thing, and he'll write, and he'll go to work.
That's ace, because a lot of people want to do that. It's like the old, I'm going to get a full-time job and do it on the weekends. And a lot of people don't have to say good on him, good on you, Adam, because it's not everyone. It's like, I think just life gets in the way often.
They do, and then they're not good with money, so they become beholden to that job, and they don't actually do the thing they're supposed to do, which is create a space where they can, something can happen, or they can go, you know what, I'm not going to work for 6 months, and I'm going to go and do this acting thing, or I'm going to go and do this writing thing, and he's done that, and it's really, really great, and I'm really fortunate to have met him, because I think one of the things that I've been so desperate to do since I got here is put together a little team of actors, filmmakers, whomever, let's just say filmmakers as a broad stroke, who all just want to make shit. Yeah. That we've all got a skill set that can get a film done like that. Yep. I've worked on a podcast, not a podcast, a web series recently. My mate Anthony Sharp sort of with someone else created this sort of Tag You're It web series. I think I might have told you about it the other day.
Yeah, right.
Where here's the theme, here's the idea. I'm going to make the first episode, then I'm going to nominate someone to shoot the continuation of that episode. It's no more than 6 minutes, and you've got 48 hours to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Just like real guerrilla style, just get it done. And they're into the 11th episode now.
Ace. Yeah.
And he came to me on Friday night. I said, right, there's a gap and I need someone to do an episode. What have you got? By the end of that night, we had a script.
Yeah.
And by the end of Monday night, it was shot.
Yeah.
And it was released at the end of that week.
Yeah.
And it was something that, because you were forced to do it so quickly that it was all just, let's just see what the fuck comes out.
It's the best thing. And I imagine most of the people you have on this show have gotten to a point where they've gone, I just got to do it, you know, and whether it could be 2 years ago, it could be 5 years ago, it could be 10 years ago, it could be whatever. But I remember it was 5 a.m. and I won't tell you anything more, but I was with a friend and we discussed, he wanted to do art and stuff, and it was probably about 5 years ago, and we just got to do it, you know, because it was 5 a.m. We thought that was
have you seen Human
revelation.
Traffic?
You know, I have. Yeah,
that kind of 5 a.m.
Yeah, maybe.
Are they talking about Star Wars?
Code. Anyone who's seen it? Yeah, absolutely. It was that kind of 5 a.m. and but it was great, you know, and it actually was a meaningful moment, because we were just like, let's go do it. And I mean, I just feel like that's probably what kind of ties together a lot of the people that you've spoken to, and like you say with the web series, people are just it just you only learn more, and you only learn more by doing stuff and by making mistakes and making stuff that's occasionally not good. You know?
Yeah, you got it.
It's like people, directors and stuff, always hope and expect that their first short's going to be great, and it just isn't. You know,
nah, can't be. I mean, it can be, but fuck.
It rarely is.
It really is.
Even the ones that...
Unless you're Christopher Nolan or something.
Yeah, but he would have had something shit back in the
like
day.
corporate videos that were rubbish.
He would have had something crap, I guarantee you, that it just wouldn't be on the IMDb.
Yeah.
You know? So,
When I was...
He's actually colorblind, and I'm colorblind. So
is that right? Yeah, okay.
It's a good thing to remember.
How does that affect you in that space?
Not that much. I guess I probably just wouldn't make decisions that were that had green and red close to each other.
Right.
But not a heap. I think it would confuse you more if I worked in art department or something, and someone said go pick up the teal jacket or something.
Right,
you know,
right.
But when you're making some of the decisions, you're just not going to you're not going to get confused, because we just see the world a certain way. So I've never, in terms of crewing, I've always stayed away from art department for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't affect you very much, really. Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, the colours are what they are when you're shooting, right? And then your colour grader is...
Well, I mean, Christopher Nolan, I think he's got his films apparently have quite a blue look to them. Yeah. So
it's very
I think
cool.
that's just a decision that whether he's done it, I don't know if he's done it intentionally or not, but...
I would say it's very intentional.
Yeah.
Or, I mean,
but he might just gravitate to it. You know?
I gravitate to it as well.
Yeah,
Everything. Me and a buddy of mine, Liam Murphy, both actors, both headshot photographers as well. He makes everything with this orange kind of undertone. And everything I would do, whenever I'm color grading a headshot, I always lean towards the blue and the shadows. I just love it, you know. And we always just sort of like we used to joke about it.
I do too, but yeah.
What's the ultimate, like, when someone looks back or you look back on your work, like where do you want to be? What do you want to have? What's your legacy in film? What's your brand? What do you think? I mean, so far I'm seeing a pretty heavy content coming out of it.
in terms of
you know, like, do you want to be like oh, this director writer was fantastic at, you know, just like really like heartbreaking real life stories.
I mean, I'm attempting to not get stuck with something at this early, because first of all, I respect people like Steven Soderbergh and stuff who just make something different every time, and I do think there's something kind of boring about just being the art house director or whatever that just makes the same film every single time, or even the Hollywood director that does the same thing.
Yeah, like Michael Bay.
But exactly, you know. I guess I would like to tell stories that make a little bit of a difference to the world, or make people think about stuff. You know, not a huge difference or anything.
No, but there'll be a...
But I don't mind social issues, you know, I kind of gravitate towards them. And yeah, I mean, I think I generally like to keep things pretty real. Having said that, I just made a surreal film, but
there's real.
Well, it was about domestic violence, and there's like, you know, we the first shot of the film was like this kind of insane circular shot of this therapist who's running this class, and it starts on her, and it moves around in a circular shot for about 360 degrees. And it goes past all of these men letting out their feelings towards women. A lot of them not very nice ones, but that was like kind of surreal, but it was also like every performance was like, I hope felt very real and felt like you were sitting right in front of them, sort of thing. Like it wasn't really a stylized thing,
right?
Even though there's a big wanky 360-degree shot.
No, but that's awesome.
Yeah. So that was I think what I'm learning, even though I want to keep it diverse, is I do gravitate towards the kind of more stark, serious stuff, but I also don't want to. I want to make people feel things. Like I don't want it to just be a heady thing where you just scratch your chin or whatever. I want people to feel something emotional. So yeah, it's a long-winded answer, but I hope.
No, that's what long-form conversation's all about.
Yeah.
Did you ever see a film? I have something else that I want to ask you, but I'm just letting my brain go on a tangent. No, there's not too many people that talk about this film, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. But it's a film that came out around 2013, 2012, and it's got Jeremy Piven, the guy who originally played the Punisher, and a couple of other people. I want to say Rob Lowe.
You're right.
Oh, I Melt With You, I think it's called.
That sounds intense. I Melt With You.
I'm sure it's called I Melt With You. Fuck me.
I do love a title where you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, when you see it, you'll know where.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's right up your fucking alley.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's one of those films that like you're fucked up after watching.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You need a day.
Yeah.
Or a week.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of my taste, what I like all kinds of movies, but they're the ones that I end up kind of writing and stuff. But yeah, I kind of like it all, and I think it's like it's a gift that there's so much stuff out there.
Yes,
like,
it is,
because you can go, I'm in this mood,
for
I'm
everyone.
in that mood, I'm in
yeah.
I'm probably more of a movies guy than a TV guy, or I definitely am more of a movies guy than a TV guy. But there's just so much good TV as well. But
I think I've become
30 hours later, it's like
I've become 50-50 actually.
Yeah.
Like I can't watch anything. I most definitely cannot watch anything that is sitcom-y or is wrapped up in an episode.
Yeah.
It has to be, cinema TV. I don't know if that's even a word, but you know
absolutely.
what I'm saying? It has to be that.
It's kind of, it's big time TV. Like ever
Right,
since
like
The
True
Sopranos and all that sort of
Detective.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
HBO, man. That's where it's at.
Yes.
HBO.
God, I hope they. God, I'd love to see, somehow Foxtel fuck up this hold on HBO Max and we just get it as a standalone thing, as we miss out on we have to pay for it on iTunes.
Yeah.
How do you go about funding your projects?
So it's been different for each one. So the first short, I funded it with a friend. It cost a couple of grand.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. And he was producing it. I was making it.
Yep.
The second one, I funded it myself, which was a Skewwiff.
Right.
And a little bit of the money that I used for that was from inheritance when my mum died.
Mm-hmm.
So that was obviously another personal aspect.
Can I just ask quickly, and not to go down too...
I don't mind. Yeah.
Right. How did your dad take the film, and how did Wally take the film?
He loved it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because that must have been a bit.
Yeah, totally. Well, Chris Hayward was the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Chris Hayward?
Didn't recognize him. No.
He's hasn't been the lead in many films, but he's been.
He's established.
He's established. He's been in lots of great movies, and he's just like. He does that guarded masculinity so well, which I just love. That's why I've been watching Succession, with Brian Cox.
Yeah.
But the character wasn't my dad. But there were similarities in the circumstances and how things went down. And Dad didn't have an issue with it at all. So that was good because now I can make something really personal about the family. No, just kidding. Just kidding. No, he took it really well, and Wally really enjoyed it as well. And I don't think, when people see stuff, but your life is so specific that when you see something on screen, it's not really the same.
Right.
But he was definitely touched, big time.
That's awesome.
And it was for me, it was a nice thing to do because I've got a little chapter of my life in a way, I made a film that that his friends like and my mum's friends like, and because, you know, they all understand kind of what it's about. So that's been a really nice thing, that there was this, like, it's kind of like a very small built-in audience, you know, but it's nice that
I think it's quite beautiful.
Yeah. So that was nice. And then at the same time, I wrote a feature, which is a family drama about a family's Christmas after a death in the family. And so that was also very personal, because it was about recovering and how families, and it was all set over Christmas. It was like a low budget, one house kind of drama. But that was also very personal in its own way. And heaps of fun.
Have you?
No, heaps of fun, because it's just sitting in the drawer ready for whichever producer is listening to this podcast. But that one's called Mammals, because it's kind of about, I always find, especially in Australia, but I'm sure it's across the world, like families are so interesting because there's so many different characters in them. And I feel like Christmas, you get a lot of booze into people, and you kind of, people become their most basest. So there's a lot of humor in it.
Remove the filter.
Exactly. Yeah. And it just reminded me of, like, you know, everyone comes to Christmas at the beginning of the day, all prim and proper, and by the end,
how are you?
And by the end, it's just a mess. This thing. So that's why it's called Mammals.
You fucking dislike about that person so much, it just wears you down.
And also the loving and the you know, arm around the shoulder, and especially when there's been a death in the family and stuff. So that was also a personal one, and pretty fun to write as well. So yeah, but that one hasn't come out, but we'll see how Wally and Dad go with that one when it gets made one day.
I'm writing the one that I'm writing now. When I say writing, it's happening slowly but surely. We discussed that already. But that one, if you know that gets made, they'll have to, like, I can see people in my family taking, you know, their insecurities and running with what they're seeing on the screen. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because it's definitely drawn from, like, from my own family life, but it's sort of, you know, it's kind of like a nugget of something that's real, jacked up. You know, but the people in the family will know what that nugget is that they told me in confidence that I'm using in a film.
Lovely,
you know?
lovely. Well, yeah. I mean, you can always shift things when you get your script. You know, when you get that bomber draft or whatever out there. But I found it quite interesting in this film because the mother character in it was like a hyper version of my own mother, the not the Skewwiff one, the feature film called Mammals. And it was actually really liberating being able to write about a mother character who wasn't my mum. She was really hyper my mum, you know. Like my mum liked a glass of wine, this lady liked a bottle of wine, sort of thing.
Right.
But it was really liberating because I didn't have to think throughout the process, oh, what if mum thinks this is about mum? Because mum's not alive. Yeah. So but yeah, I mean, I do love the writing personally thing. It's an interesting thing because it in some ways it's great because it makes it easy, but it also limits you in other ways because you sometimes don't feel you can stray from your life as much as you could. If you're writing about you know, South Africa or whatever, you can just go like, what about this character or whatever. But in my family drama, even though there was more characters than my family and stuff, I don't think I would have expanded it as much. You know,
I definitely feel that there's like I'm at a point now with this producer that I've been working with where I've sort of said to her, look, I kind of feel like I'm at my limit of someone who's never been there.
Yep. And
I would love for us to package this pitch with the caveat of if there's a writer director in South Africa that loves this idea and the legwork's already been done, I'm totally happy for that inside person to come in and just pinch it so it's really real. And it's the same with the film that I'm writing now. It's essentially it's about two older women who have a grandchild come into the world, and they both come in to help their respective children who are married with this child, and then something happens and they're forced to share a place together and help the son whilst the mum has to go away, and they're, you know, in their late 60s, early 70s, and they fall in love with each other, and you know, and sort of open up about the fact that they've always been gay and they come from
sounds pretty ripe for drama. I like it.
oppressed husbands and families and you know that period.
Yep.
But I would be doing a disservice to even with a gay brother who's married.
Yeah.
To not have a female gay writer come in and work with me on it. I kind of feel a lot better about it instead of it being my opinion.
Or just sometimes it just gives you a bit more confidence in what you're doing, you know?
Yeah,
like,
also just the marketing of it too.
Yeah. And yeah, it just like, I mean, the more opinions you can get on your stuff and the more involvement you can get from people,
100%,
the stronger it'll get. You know, I think people you can't be precious with your stuff.
Fuck no.
And that's exactly what you're saying in both cases there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was talking about Adam before, and he was like, when we first, because I did his headshots for a profile shot for a film he just made, and then he's like, I'd love you to read my latest script, and here's the NDA, and rah, rah, and I'll sign one for you. I said, mate, I'm not going to steal your fucking script, man. I have a hard enough time writing my own. Get it, mate. Let alone fucking around with yours. I said, anyone who thinks this whole thing where it's got to be private and you're a nobody writer, just fucking send me the thing. And that was what Blake Snyder talks about. He's like, talk to about as many people as possible.
And people like, oh yeah, it depends on what your film is. Your film actually sounds like something that the South African one that someone actually, because it's like it's around real issues, someone actually kind of could nick. But there's some projects where because it's because you know. It's like it's a good idea, but there's some projects that are like so specific and stuff. You got to realize that like no one else is going to try and write your story. Because can you imagine spending a year trying to write someone else's story about something? It would be really difficult. So
well, you're right. Like, and this is another thing that as valuable as learning about the beats of story writing is I learned that, and because this ties into my own science beliefs, it's not like a belief in like, you know, fairies or something, is a collective consciousness is a very real thing. And if you're thinking about it, good chance that you're thinking about it because it's happening. Yeah. And that means a fucking shit ton of other writers are thinking about it too. And Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy pretty much in a one paragraph synopsis had the same film 10 years ago. Yep. And I never knew about it till now.
Yeah.
And it never got legs and whatever. They got a million other projects going on, but it's a former soldier that goes to an
former soldier as well. Wow. Yeah.
Anti-poaching unit. They are all former soldiers typically.
Oh, right.
So that's broad. But he was probably British SAS as opposed to Australian SAS. And, and it was Tom Hardy and Leo and what's your man's name? Spider-Man. Not the new one, the old one. Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, they didn't even have a script. They just had a nugget of an idea.
Yeah.
Never happened. Yeah. But that's you want that sort of, that it's already existing.
Oh,
you
totally.
know? And it's just waiting for the right one to get legs.
I'm making this climate change film and I'm a climate change nut, as are many other people right now around the world.
When you say nut, just quickly, and I'm sorry, this is one technique that I've learned as a podcaster, because I hate cutting people off. Yeah. But after my first couple of podcasts, I realized I hadn't spoken for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh shit, I actually have to jump in every now and then.
No, go for it.
When you say nut, explain that to me.
So I feel very passionate about it.
Meaning you believe it's a thing or you don't?
Oh no, totally. I believe it's a thing. Yeah, and I think it's going to profoundly affect our lives in the future. So I guess when I say I'm a nut, I'm just taking the piss out of myself.
No. But it's something that's very
it's very close to me, and I'm like got to make a film about it. But there's going to be so many other people out there right now that are in the exact same case,
with that,
and there's going to be a thing where from 2025 or 2020 to 2030. There's going to be a lot of them. I can just tell they're going to come, and there's going to be a time where there's going to be like, maybe not, but I reckon there'll be like, oh, there's too many of them.
Yeah, it's like in the late 90s. It was meteor films.
Yeah, exactly. You know, end of the world. So it's kind of one of those things where you're like, I'm like, there's heaps of other people doing it right now, and I don't want the South African climate change jungle film to come out, you know, because I don't want to be like, oh shit, it's the exact same thing, you know.
Yeah, as soon as I started speaking about this film, everyone's sending me like whispers of other films that are like mine. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
Gets you hustling though.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets you kind of motivated. Yeah, I mean, I think I spoke to you about this on the phone prior. It's the least sexy thing, climate change, for a film for filmmaking, because it's so big and it's so broad. Unless you're doing like an apocalypse film or something. And films are good when they're personal. A lot of my favorite films are about one character that goes through this time, and things happen, and they try to adapt to that, and then they probably learn something about themselves at the end, and that's it. So it's yeah, I've kind of gone down the cult aspect to frame it, but also to make it a little bit more commercially relevant, because, as you
still got to get people to put money into it.
Yeah, and also people to watch it.
Yeah. There's no point in making something no one watches.
Pretty good for movies like the
fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Waco?
No, is it
Michael Shannon?
Is Michael Shannon in it?
Yeah, Michael Shannon and Taylor Kitsch.
Really? Is
Yeah.
he's not the main dude?
No,
is he?
no, Taylor Kitsch is your man. Fucking
Yeah.
That's one
Michael
of the,
Shannon makes a great fanatic, doesn't he? Hell yeah.
He's maybe one of the best.
Yeah.
You know.
You're talking about your appeal before as having an intense vibe.
That's all he knows how to do.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the best way. I fucking like.
Have you ever seen the film he did called Take Shelter by any chance?
No.
It's about like he's got a family, and he starts to believe in that he builds a bunker and stuff. He just freaks out about the world kind of shit, and it
sounds about right.
He's just like the perfect actor for that movie. It's a great movie.
I just watched him in it's Midnight Special, isn't it?
Same director, Jeff Nichols.
Okay, right. Such a good film.
Yeah. That director's like. He's completely underrated. Like he's made quite a few films, and they're like these like very appealing films that are very artful at the same time. And he's
they're very beautiful. Very beautiful with heavy shit.
He almost reminds me of like a old school like 70s 80s director in a way.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
No, I think with Michael Shannon, like he's one of those actors that you're so used to him doing like Revolutionary Road type thing where it's that fucking nails intensity, craziness, and then you'll see something like Midnight Special or one of the closeout. I think at the closeout scene of or it's not the closeout scene, but of the Tom Ford film that he did with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, right.
Where he gives you those little moments of tenderness, and you're like,
I know. Oh. When they play against type, it's the same as I mean, it's a show, so it's different because you get to establish characters so much more. But with that Succession movie, to talk about it for the third time, I just haven't watched TV in ages. I'm like, this is the best. But when that character who's like the King Lear of the film, when he of the TV show, when he shows his softer side, it's the Soprano type shit. Exactly, and it's like the strength of the whole thing.
Totally. Yeah.
Same as I guess the Breaking Bad thing.
You're longing for it so much.
Exactly. Yeah. And you go, oh, they're actually a dad, for a moment or whatever.
But what I will say about both of those shows is I found that in the end I didn't get it enough, and I ended up hating them.
For which
Breaking Bad and Sopranos.
Yeah.
Sopranos closed really strongly where he was united with his family.
Yeah.
Death may come type shit.
I think Sopranos was a better, like they finished the show better for me.
It's one of the best endings in television history.
It's red hot.
I know. Sorry, Game of Thrones. You didn't do that in TV back then.
You didn't just chop the last bit of the movie off back then, of the show. Yeah.
It's perfect. You can't. I mean, they're making a prequel or have made a prequel.
Have they?
Yeah.
Well, it was originally a movie script.
There's just too much there.
Yeah.
Well, 6 seasons.
I think they maybe they haven't. I don't know if they shot it or not. But then,
they should never.
He was a great actor, man. He was
incredible.
He was amazing.
I still haven't seen his last film with Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. The Romance. Yeah, I'd like to. But it looks sweet.
Yeah, but there was a a heavy undertone in that film, I thought, wasn't there?
Yeah.
He's sick or something.
Something's going on.
Something's happening. One of them's...
And he was maybe even sick during the shooting, so yeah.
Didn't he have a heart attack?
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he had a heart attack.
It wasn't like a cancer thing.
No. He was just having, I'm pretty sure it was at a restaurant in Italy. Yeah, it was pretty hectic. I mean, isn't that a shame when you're like, well, that kind of makes sense. You know, like when Chris Farley died. Or,
yeah.
You know, but when you're like Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Well, he got bigger and bigger during the show. And that was like, it just suited it. You know, it really worked. If that made sense.
I know. Yeah. And I don't know. It always bums me out when I see people with everything who could. I'm like, just do steroids or something. You know what I mean? Get a trainer for God's sakes. You know,
totally.
Don't deprive us of your gift.
Yeah.
This is gonna suck, and you're kind of like on edge that they're not gonna fucking make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I reckon we're probably
I reckon
rounding her out.
I should probably
get to your party.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hey man,
but thank you,
thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it, and it's great to finally meet you and hear about your projects. And I'm keen to see where they end up. And
totally,
yeah.
And thanks for doing a shout out to Wal and Dad. I appreciated that.
100%, man, 100%. I remember the first time I met your dad on a big job, and we got along well. And Wally's always been good to me. So
yeah, nice.
Thanks, buddy.
Right, thanks, man. Take care.